You know what a fun game show would be? Why am I just now thinking of this? If we could get like 50 slabs, all PSA 10 or or BGS 10, just the same grade. Like you have them and I have the
It's like
same
the adult
exact
trainer
cards.
challenge.
And we set up at like opposite ends of a show.
Yeah.
And who can turn the showcase into like a bigger,
the most trainer challenge.
the more valuable thing.
Awesome. Netflix, come after us.
But I know that would be the show, right? I would watch that.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the TCG Table Podcast. My name is Alan Lee, and I am Pokemon Hero, and I am your host of the podcast. And today, we got a special treat for you guys. We have the one, the only, the black label maker, Mr. Roboskillz.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Robo. Yo, shout outs to Hero for having me on the pod, and this is now we've had a shared podcast experience because we've also had Hero on the Card Lounge, and now I'm here after a great weekend at Collecticon. Yeah.
Yes. How was Collecticon experience for you?
Man, it was good because we got to vend together and we got to hang out. It's always fun to see everyone at all the Collecticons. I picked up 2 or 3 things for the PC, which is always nice. I looked everywhere for a hollow PSA 9 Beedrill from Skyridge. Couldn't find that. And, just bought some cards, sold some cards. Wish I could have sold probably a little bit more, for like, and everyone always describes LA Collecticon as,
Mecca, man.
Yeah,
Mecca.
like so epic. And I feel like the flow of people was good. But it's I don't know, maybe it was just because it was the week before Christmas.
Now we can definitely get into it. I think when I was on your pod, we were talking about the vendorship and everything. I think now you got to see how I roll.
Yeah.
We can definitely discuss to this episode, but yeah, man, like I always love to start with how we get to meet each other, know each other, and it was quite a short time. So maybe I'll let you record a story because I think it anchors people on how the connection to be made. And this is something I always emphasize on my podcast, which is making connections. So
we met at, only a couple shows ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just remember you were really not, did I get something from your booth?
No.
But I remember Nurse Joy Vibes gave me cookies.
Yep, that's right.
And the me reaching back out, guys, I love cookies. That's like my weakness treat. And dude, those cookies were so good.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting them to be that good.
I know.
And I was like, okay, how did you make these? And then we just like got back in touch that way. And then I think you were at the next show, Las Vegas Front Row, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Saw you at Las Vegas Front Row. And then I got to see you again a little bit at San Antonio Collecticon, which I wasn't even planning on going to.
Yeah, just on a whim you did it too.
Yeah, I literally was only at the show for maybe 2 hours tops. And it was because I knew the first day, I went Saturday only because I was visiting my friend who just had a baby.
Nice.
And he just happened to live about an hour away from San Antonio Collecticon. So then I was like, oh, this is going on. Was picking up some packs for a buddy of mine who's kind of starting his entry point into the hobby and wants to kind of go back and kind of film this journey of opening up like base set, jungle, fossil, like really getting back into the original packs that we all opened up as kids, you know.
Nice.
And then so then I saw you again at San Antonio, and then we were also talking about doing this show. You said you had some extra space, and it's like no one can ever get tables for a Collecticon drop. It's like,
especially in LA, I think.
Yeah, right? It's like tougher than a Pokemon Center drop at this point. And so then I was like, yeah, I could vend with you because I knew we were going to be available this weekend. And it was a lot of fun, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah, let's dive right into it, man. What do you, so guys, everybody, little back history here. I was on the Card Lounge podcast where obviously talk with you and Jake, and the topic was kind of like my vendor journey.
Yeah.
and how I was able to kind of run at a very, very high pace
Yeah.
in just 11 months in the hobby. And we're wrapping this up towards the end of the year, which is like a great end of the year recap episode for me as well here as my journey. So I'm reflecting a lot. So I'm glad you get to be a part of it. And I think you got to see firsthand how I say the things I, told you about on the podcast, and then how I actually execute it. What do you think?
Well, your execution on, I mean, I feel like the amount of value gain, I mean, you would have certain cards that you just got and then they were just gone again in an hour or two.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, I got stuff in at trade too, but it wasn't like immediately someone came by an hour later and was like, oh, I want to buy that. And so I do feel like we had this like 3 full showcases of beautiful slabs, like mostly 10s, some 9s, brought some more One Piece out. And that was one thing I noticed. A lot more people buying One Piece. And
Everyone's on a gold rush for One Piece
I
right
guess
now.
that's what, yeah. And
How fitting, right?
my Pokemon stuff wasn't as looked at. I guess there was a few people that looked at stuff. But that's why it felt kind of different. It was like a show where now people were really appreciating a lot of the cards that I've been saying for a long time are just underappreciated.
Yeah, finally getting his attention.
Yeah.
Now, I know I would love to turn this into more Q&A, because I know you have lots of questions for me about vending. And I'm sure, again, for this podcast, right, the main goal is to educate a lot of maybe either collectors or newer vendors who wants to come into the hobby. So I think it would actually be a very fresh take for you to just discuss that. Let's do that.
No,
Let's
then everyone here,
floodgate.
let's open the floodgates. I'm gonna ask Hero the burning question that
All right, let's go.
feel. Okay, so we'll break down something that we've talked about a little bit off the pod.
Yeah.
Where you ended up with a gold star Latios.
That's
at
right.
This show. And me vending shows for, I mean, I guess maybe I don't vend very much like as frequently as you, but I have vended shows and have brought enough heat with me that I feel like, I don't know, you started with, let's go back to what you started with and how you ended up with a gold star Latios with cash, because it was like, it also had some One Piece involved in there too, right?
That's right.
So you went like Pokemon to One Piece, somehow back to Pokemon.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then just had more cash.
Yep.
And I'm like, I want to do that more at shows. So how did you do that?
All right. So let's walk everybody through. Specifically, it was the Latios Gold Star PSA 9. Right? We're not talking about like 1, 2, 3. We're talking about PSA 9. Pretty rare, high rarity in that sense, right? And the other thing I want to highlight, right? I think what you mentioned about earlier was I didn't need a lot of heat or a lot of, valuable slabs for me to obtain that. It happened all throughout one day.
Yeah.
Right? I just went from nothing to getting that. I think it's a lot of people and a lot of newer vendors and just a lot of viewers in general, but like, how, right?
Yeah, it's like you did a trade up challenge, which is what I would have to do without needing to ask anyone, hey, you want to trade up this? Yeah, it was like,
except for the end goal was a gold
you
star,
did a covert trade up challenge. Yeah.
So let's walk everybody back. Saturday, one of our loyal viewers from your ball squad.
Oh,
shout out,
the
right?
Pokeball. Yeah, shout outs to the Pokeball squad.
That's right.
Right. Someone came to my table shopping the red manga Luffy.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think you were looking at a card. I think in your inventory, for whatever reason, it didn't make sense. And I was just part of the conversation when you wrapped up. The guy looks like he looks lost, right? I think you would agree. He wanted to get cash out on that card.
Yeah, he just he's a great guy. He's a collector at heart.
Yeah.
And he packed it. So it was just
exactly.
like for him, he's in on it for what, $6-7
Nickel
bucks
on the dime,
pack.
let's just say, right?
He just, you could tell he the whole goal of him being at Collecticon, he was not trying to leave or go back home with just the like
Correct.
empty-handed
Correct.
essentially, because he needed to get some money out of it, for
Probably to
costs or
justify the
expense.
ripping.
Yeah, yeah,
I get it, right? For whatever reason.
yeah.
So at that time, we were all trying to help him, right?
Hmm.
And, at the end of the day, it was just like, okay, it wouldn't make sense for us to lock up a ton of our individual capital in cash to pay for that card when we haven't really even determined the volatility of that market of that card.
Right.
One. Two is like, well, what do we do with that card unless we want to PC it or something, right? So I think for whatever reason, you guys just couldn't close the deal at that time.
Price wise, he was like, he was willing to work out a deal, but right, I couldn't do all cash.
Yeah.
And I tried to see if he wanted anything that I had to do some like trade and partial cash. But it still would have just been a lot of cash to tie up.
Exactly. So that's when I was like, okay, let me talk to him, right? And let me understand a little bit better about the situation, see how we can help, how I can help, right? So understanding that exact situation where he's like, I need cash. I'm like, okay, I think what I'm comfortable of spending is about half cash, right? For whatever the card market value was at the time, and half trade. The question then becomes like, okay, the goal was for us to really just figuring out how we can get him to walk away with this, red manga traded out, and for him to go home not feel like he lost value, right?
Right. He
So
needed more money than other cards
right,
to go home.
exactly.
Yeah.
So immediately I understood the assignment, and I looked at my showcase and I say, okay, there are a few cards that I know is sought after right now, right? I can give him half cash and then give him that push to get him there maybe. So the two cards that I had in mind was the Nami yellow SP, right? Beautiful cards. It's very sought after right now. And then also the Boa SP, the blue one, right? Both are BGS 10s, right? So I was like, hey, look, how about these two cards plus the half cash? Because what you can do is you can go home immediately with half cash and at least you have money.
Right.
You have already had 50% of the way there and you already up. But on top of that, I'm giving you two cards that is very sought after. You can either have the rest of the show for you to try to sell to somebody for more cash, and then you can ultimately end with the exact goal that you wanted, which is full cash. Or even if you don't sell those two cards, it will still gain in value in the
Right. Because
days to come.
he can hold those, and those are cards that aren't really going to drop drastically in
And
value.
individually, they will go up, right? It's not like that he's betting all his chip in one basket, which is the red manga, right?
Right. Right.
That's where I know I can give that value to him, and it makes sense for both of us to get a win-win situation, right? So then it's a matter of like, let me figure out who maybe I can find a buyer for this card, et cetera, right? So we end up closing that deal, and I had the inventory to have that conversation, get him on his way. So shout out to you, man. I hope everything works out. Love to have you come back. We'll chit chat again for it. Yeah. So that was a genesis of me getting the red manga. And I was like, man, this is absolutely gradable, right? There's nothing wrong with it. And I was like, I should just grade it. But then I looked at the PSA return time, and you saw PSA just double every single one of the return times.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it really worth for me to deal with the unknown, deal with the double in timing? So today, Sunday, I was like, okay, let me shop it around, see what value I can get, right? And this is where good connection comes from, right? I talked about it on your podcast. Knowing the connection, knowing who to shop it with at the right time matters. So going there, shopping around, I was able to find a good trade with, I got the other Luffy manga, the OP13, the regular one.
Okay, yeah. This trade was, you did straight red manga Luffy for regular manga Luffy from OP13 and cash, or was it other cards?
Yep, it was regular Luffy OP13 plus cash, and there's another like Pokemon box in there. Like it was just to supplement to make the difference, and I was fine with
Was
that.
it the Greninja
That's
EX
right.
box?
That's
Okay,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Which is a great box.
Great.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it comes with some other box behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So again, another great trade where everyone gets a win-win situation. So we done that deal. We locked it in, closed it. Now somebody go home with a red manga that they wouldn't have otherwise have come across, right? So and I got a PSA 10 Luffy OP13 manga. It's also not bad, right? So now this is where the crazy part, the snowball started happening, and you see in real time, right? I go back to my desk. Another friend, another buddy came through, and he was like, "Hey man, I got this like Latios Gold Star PSA 9, and I don't do Pokemon. I just need to get like value, like the exact amount of value out of this card, and I can be out." And I'm like, "I know you do One Piece. I know you don't do Pokemon." I was like, "Okay, I could do Pokemon." And look, everybody on this pod.
Wait, who was this guy that had the
Well, shout out to Kami Cards. So it's a group of guys.
Kami?
Yeah. So I met them in San Antonio.
Oh, these were the Santa. Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
And I did a One Piece deal with them, and we made a connection. We just kept chatting since, and that's why we're like buddy, you know.
That's what I want to know. That so if these are One Piece guys, how
Yeah.
did they even end up with a Gold Star Latios PSA 9?
I'm sure.
I
it
feel like
makes
you don't
some sort of
accidentally.
business sense,
That's
right?
wild.
Yeah. Some
What
sort of
what
business
piece
sense.
could that be added into
Exactly.
in One Piece that's like other than like a trophy card or something that would it would have to be
Yeah.
over like 15 20 grand, I feel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's like everybody gets value along the way kind of deal, right? I get it. So I was like, well, I have a couple of mangas that I know, like I just got this brand new OP13 Luffy manga, right? And I also have an original OP09 Luffy manga, and they both add up to more than the value was he was looking for. So I was like, look, I could give you these, and I'll take the gold star, right? At your asking price, get you out of the bind. I get something, he gets something, and then he just do the cash difference on top. And we even did a coin flip actually at the end. So it was like, I think it was like, I forgot, I think it was 900 to 1100 coin flip, just 100 on up or down for us.
Okay,
Just
so
for the fun of it.
so right, and you basically had a thousand cash on top, no matter what.
I mean, it was either
would you-
900 or 1100.
right, but with the middle ground being a thousand.
Exactly. And I won. So
Oh, there you go.
there you go. So that's how it happened. I didn't wake up today. I didn't, it's like we talked about it off the pod. It's not like I just like, yo, I'm gonna get a Latios Gold Star PSA 9 today, guys. Like, doesn't happen that way.
And that was for just the regular manga Luffy.
That's with the OP09 Luffy manga as
With
well.
with the OP09 Luffy.
Yeah,
Okay.
together. But
Both
those
PSA
two,
10?
BGS 10 for OP09,
Oh, okay.
and then PSA 10 for OP13 one.
You know what's so funny? I would need that if I knew I wasn't already getting that card, because I got it a while ago. I would have needed that OP09 BGS 10 manga. Yeah.
But so I think that's exactly how I operate, and again how I turn it. So
And you just did it all in one
day.
day. Man.
We can even talk about the Venusaur if you want to, but I get so many stories.
Yeah,
today, it was
wait.
crazy.
When did the Venusaur come into play? I thought the Venusaur first
That was a
edition
whole
was
different
a
thing.
part of it.
No, that was a whole different.
That was a
deal.
whole other thing?
A whole different.
Okay,
thing.
all right,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
talk
it's
about that
crazy.
one then. Okay, so how did you end up? But you're out of the Venusaur now.
Yeah, I'm not already.
Because you just got
Yeah,
cash for that?
yeah.
Okay, how did you end up with dude, I've been doing Pokemon for 7 years now. It feels like forever. I mean, not vending, but just been back in the hobby. And I've never held I mean, I probably held one, but I've never owned a first edition Venusaur PSA 9. That's pretty crazy, man.
It was, and
You had a Grail Pokemon piece in just a day without even trying.
Wait, were you even there when I did the deal, or were you off somewhere? I don't remember.
I
Actually.
remember when you got it, you're like, look at this. And
Yeah.
I was like, what? And it wasn't
Yeah,
until
that's
the
okay,
following day
okay.
you moved it, because Saturday you were like I was like, dude, I want that card.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if I could afford it in a 9. Like I would want it a clean looking one and maybe like, a 6
right.
or a 7 or something.
That's right. Oh, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the new gens there. No, so Clovr Cards. Shout out Clovr Brothers here.
Oh, it was Clovr. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
at the end of the day, I was not expecting that. They were shopping the Venusaur around. They're like, hey, would you be interested in a trade? I'm like, you guys know me. I'm not like a vintage guy. I got in, 11 months ago, but I recognize the value. I'm like, okay, yeah, like, what are you looking for? Right? Again, I treat everybody like a customer. What are you looking for? He's like, I just want trade. I'm like, okay. Is there anything you're interested in my showcase, my little
Yeah.
showcase compared to this, right? I did not expect the deal to go down, to be honest. And then he's like, oh, how about that Umbreon? I'm like, yeah, I got the
The
Umbreon.
Umbreon makes sense because
Yep, Faith
Umbreon is like,
Collide.
yeah.
Beautiful card, right?
Yeah.
And you saw I picked that card up that day. I knew
Yeah, you picked
I just
that
knew,
card up
right?
that day.
I knew
Oh
off
my
of you
God.
saw that deal.
Yeah. I
Right.
saw
So
that deal.
and we're mixing so many deals here, so trying to follow along, guys, right? But out of that whole entire lot, I picked just that card. You saw that.
Right.
And because I knew, again, I am a collector at heart. And when I look at that, I was like, I knew somebody would pick that out in
Want
a
that,
heartbeat. And that's why I got it. And look, I was right on the mark on it.
You think Clovr see, this is where I feel like if I had Clovr on Card Lounge, I would ask him specifically why he would trade. This is how you got out of your gold Charizard.
Correct.
So this is the new Mega Charizard from Phantasmal, guys, which is, and we know, because we've talked about this, Phantasmal just came out.
Yeah.
That gold Charizard, while dropping in price some, is kind of as high as it will be. Like it'll definitely be less 6 months from now.
Yeah.
So Hero getting out of it now is actually a smart thing. But what's crazy is I know the Clovr guys are, super. I want to ask, like, why he would trade one of the most vintage cards, a first edition Venusaur, for the Umbreon and then that modern of a gold Zard. Like, yeah, you got it in a 10 and it looks beautiful. Like, it's a great card.
A beautiful card.
So it's not knocking the card, but it's like trading literally the most modern thing
for the most vintage
for
thing.
the most
Literally.
Vintage thing.
How
And
ironic
I
is that?
want to know how that made sense in his head, unless he had like a specific goal that he was trying to accomplish.
I obviously we should ask them if we ever jump on the podcast, guys. You guys always welcome. If I have to speculate, right, I would say just looking and judging their business model, opening base set, opening vintage stuff, right? As collector, we do get fatigue a little bit, right? To them, it's just another Venusaur base set, in my opinion. Again,
is
speculatively saying.
Well, he said he rips like they go through like how many base set boxes in a year, which is wild. That it's awesome that they've got the people they can stream that to.
And I wouldn't put it past them that they probably have multiple PSA 10 copies. So to them, it's like, why would I want a PSA 9?
A first edition Venusaur, you think?
I'm just saying, right? That's again, speculatively speaking, I don't know the inventory, but I wouldn't put it past the fact that they own a lot of inventory of the base set, right? So again, it's like PSA 9, who cares? I want something else, right? And hey, look, that's why this is a hobby. Everybody collects different things, right? And I literally say, hey, what do you like? And I was like, look, would you like this gold Charizard? And he's like, yeah, I like it. Because you know what? I bet you he doesn't rip modern packs, right? And this is a gold Charizard PSA 10. And again, not knocking the card, because we know, look, guys, the value of the newest set of the top chase of a gold card is very speculative. We know that. There's no doubt about that. But on the opposite side of that equation, though, we know gold cards right now are very hard to grade 10s. If you look at the pop right now, I think when I looked at it, it was 69 10s and maybe 267 9s. So we're talking about like a 1-to-3 ratio at best, right?
I feel like that's a good ratio compared to some other 10-to-9 ratios, though.
You see what I'm saying? So yes, while the price and the temperature of the card is like dwindling down, because as with all Pokemon, it does that. But when you look at the statistical and the data element of that card, it's actually a really hard card to grade. And I'm one of the first one to get a 10. I graded it.
That's true. Walking the showroom floor,
Nobody has it.
I don't think I saw another one of those gold Zards in a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a collector, you know? What's the better way to just, hey, I like this. I just want to throw it in my PC for a
That's
while,
true.
right? So again, for whatever reason it is, it made sense. And he had a 9 to afford to give. So we made the deal. We made the trade. It was great. So again, today, I'm not a vintage guy, right? So I was shopping around to see what the temperature for that card is, and maybe I can potentially move into something that I would like. Maybe I want to experiment. And I was actually shout out to any rare trading. Anthony, good friend of mine. He always have heat, so you guys should always check out. He had a Deoxys Hollow Phantom low pop PSA 10. I was like, man, maybe I should trade for that. So I was kind of debating which card to trade into, and while I was doing that, that was like a brand new market I'm trying to gauge and trying to understand, right? So trying to do my research in real time. And again, this is why making good connection as vendor is really helpful, because I wasn't just shopping around. I was also asking vendor friends that I know is doing low pop, doing high end stuff. I'm asking, hey guys, give me your honest opinion. What do you think? Should I hold this Venusaur first edition base set, or should I trade it into this card? What would you guys do?
I mean, you could hold that card and know that the value won't stagger much because it's it's a first edition Venusaur. But then, right, you could turn it into something worth more if the right person will give you more for a first edition Venusaur, which is what you ended up doing, right?
Exactly. And do that conversation. And again, I'm gonna keep shouting out today because I couldn't be possible unless I have all these great trading partners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sigma Seller, they were guests on my podcast. At some point, Diego, one of the partner, was just like, do you want to sell this card? I'll buy it. I'm like, really? I wasn't fishing around for an offer for you, because I didn't think they would like it. But if you like it, hey, look, I'm more than happy to sell it because I got cash. Now I get more freedom,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we worked out the cash price. Everything was worked out. Look, I came in on good because I graded the czar.
Mm-hmm.
I have room, and it makes sense. I'm like, look, I would have gotten an even trade anyway. Now I just have capital for about the same amount. So why wouldn't I do it? So it makes sense. We made the deal, done.
Right.
And now I'm like in and out of a Venusaur first edition PSA 9, just like that.
Wait, it was like how much cash total or like value with the Deoxys?
So I think both cards are around 5K each.
Okay.
So it would have been an even trade.
5K.
Yeah.
Okay.
5K Venusaur, 5K Deoxys. And again, it would have been even. We haven't hashed out the detail, but it was like either 100, 200 off or something like that, right? It would have been very, very similar in close range. But at the end of the day, I got cash offer for it. So I was like, okay, now
Wait,
I can.
from him or someone else?
No, from Sigma Sellers.
Right,
So I
okay.
was originally going to do a trade, but I ended up pivoting to just getting the cash,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I also didn't have to pull in a favor maybe for a friend who maybe want to sell that card at a premium, but then maybe offer me a favor at a straight trade or something, right? Like,
Right.
you see what I'm saying? So it just made more sense for me to be like, okay, doing the cash deal to somebody who can do something better or have a better clientele for that card than I can, and I make gains along the way. It makes sense for everybody. Done. That's how I do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I feel like I'm trying to think of anything I took in via trade. Man, I know I took in a manga. I took in a manga Sabo
Yeah.
at one point,
Yeah.
and I can't even remember what went out to get that manga Sabo.
It happens to me a lot, actually.
Like, what did but like, I'm like, how did I end up with a manga Sabo now?
But you know what that means, right?
What?
It just means the stuff that you traded out, you didn't care for at all.
Bingo.
At all. And
Good,
that's
good detail.
and that's the thing that you would never want to buy again because you just didn't even remember you had it.
You know what? In a weird way, it kind of
That makes
bothers
sense,
me.
right?
I don't know what it is, but with you explaining it that way, because if I trade the manga Sabo out, I'll remember a manga Sabo went out. But I don't really remember what went out for Yeah, how did I get that manga sabo? It would have to be something valued at higher though that I got that in plus something else.
Yep. And I think, it's so funny because I obviously try to engage in a lot of the comments from the Call Lounge podcast, and I feel like just trying to portray a picture for the viewers who aren't a vendor or who are not just accustomed to seeing all these Pokemon cards or One Piece cards on a daily basis. It's really hard to understand, and I'm trying to just allow them to kind of get a window view into our world, right? It's it's not wrong to have product and cards that comes in your way that you don't even remember you traded out for. It happens to every one of us as a vendor. It's just the life cycle of a vendor, right?
Yeah.
It's inevitable. If you only buying and picking and choosing what you want all the time, your inventory itself is gonna be stagnant, right? You're just gonna keep whatever you want. And we talk about this as a hobby, right? You buy things because you think it's cool. Might not be something you want to keep in the PC at the end of the day. Like that Umbreon was a perfect example. I bought it because I knew it was cool, and I didn't personally think this was cool enough for me
For
to
you,
keep
but
it.
you know a bunch of other people would love that
I
Umbreon.
just from a data collection standpoint, in 11 months, I probably have at least 20 or 30 times somebody asked me for that card and I didn't have it.
That specific card,
Yeah.
that Umbreon EX from Breakthrough,
Face collide.
Fates Collide, right?
Right? And
Wow.
I knew. And it's like, okay, these are all data points you gather as a vendor as you go on. You're like, okay, there's a reason why the general public likes that card. I need to understand why. So then when I have that card, I know what to do with it. And look at what happened.
I mean,
That's perfect example.
right? So I mean, it's interesting to think about like what I took in. The two big cards that I feel like I moved. There was the first anniversary Zoro, so many people asked us about.
Yeah.
And then no one was willing to pull the trigger. And then finally
Yes.
someone did.
Yes.
And that person was smart because that Zoro, I remember being, I mean, it was just cheap. It was a part of the first anniversary set, but that's something that not everyone got off a premium Bandai. I remember you could order up to 10 or 12 of those. Like, there wasn't like a crazy limit on it. Like now they put, for the third anniversary set, it was limit one per customer.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. But that original first anniversary set, I just remember thinking, oh, first anniversary, I have to buy the I think I got 10 or 12.
That
And I
makes
got
sense.
each one for like $100. And it comes with a playmat and then all the folder of the cards. And that one Zoro in a 10 sold for $650. The guy but it's rare because he was like, dude, you have this in a 10? I was like, yeah, we're probably he said he looked around the entire floor
Yeah.
and we were the only one that had it in a 10, or maybe even just had the card at all. And that was probably one of the bigger, and that's not even $1,000.
No,
And
it's
you
not.
did like multi-$1,000 swings. So,
Look, to be fair, right?
yeah,
Today or the Collecticon LA was probably one of my best show ever.
that's
From like
wild.
from a traffic flow, from a like happening flow.
It's usually slower for you than that.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, it's usually
sure.
busier,
Yeah.
and I've done more.
Yeah.
But it'll be maybe smaller. I don't know. I feel like the best show I did this year was probably not the last front row, but the one before it. It was just like
Mm-hmm.
people were waiting in line. Someone would buy something
Yeah.
and then they would leave, and the next person would come up and buy something, and it was like a steady stream of people.
Yeah.
Like you didn't even get a break.
But that's how
really.
I felt, right? You saw Saturday was just
We had some breaks though.
insane.
We had some
No.
breaks.
when I'd never had a break. It was crazy.
Really?
Yeah. It
You
was
no,
crazy.
you had enough of a break to go to to NBA when I was saying to go get the black diamonds on your stuff.
I was running
Which,
to it though.
congrats.
Yes.
Congrats
Oh
on
my God.
your,
We got to
your
do that.
black
Yeah.
diamond. Yeah, very
We got to
nice.
talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is probably, I mean, between our two tables, that's probably like the grailiest grail that could
Grailiest
have,
grail?
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you got double black on it.
Yes.
Did
But yeah.
anyone talk to you about wanting to buy it this weekend?
I don't, you know what's so interesting? People didn't understand what that was.
What?
The NBA Black Diamond.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
I
a
had
lot
to
of new
explain it to
people
people.
entering
Yep.
the hobby. Because I saw Ryan's Card House was there getting
Yeah.
some diamonds
I
on
met him.
stuff. And then we talked to the guy to go get his the he got all diamonds on all of
Yep.
the wanted posters.
Yeah, he was
right?
actually a customer of mine at front row.
Right.
So you know what's the interesting thing? Again, look, guys,
That guy was chill.
yeah, very chill, and I always emphasize on making connection beyond anything else.
Yeah.
Right. So he was the customer that bought my Nami manga. He was my first One Piece English manga that I purchased was the Nami manga, and he
Right.
bought it. And it was funny because the story there was that at front row he wanted that card, and I told him, I was like, look, I got it for this price. I wanted like 2K, or 2K or 2.1 or whatever. He's like, yo, come on, man, you gotta hook me up. I can do cash. He wanted to do trades, but at that time I was like, look, I honestly, my goal was to get cash on that card, right? And he could have given me trades, but I would have taken in those at a percentage, and he still would have give me more than half cash. And I was just like, look, it honestly would have been better if you go and sell these two cards and come back for the cash. And if you could do that and you really want it, I would sell this to you for 1900, just because you've been standing there for so long, been talking. I literally would have made $100 because I got that card. I straight up told him I got that card for 1800,
Yeah.
and I'm selling it to you for 1900. I make $100 for all the effort, just because you just really wanted it.
Right.
And if you really wanted it bad enough and you're willing to sell all your card for cash and you come back for it, you kind of earned it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And guess what? He did. And that's when I joke around this, right? It's like when somebody call you bluff. Remember when I talked about Carl Lounge? That's
Sure.
exactly the scenario. He called me bluff. He came back with the cash, and I was like, damn it, I had to sell it now. I had to honor my words. Sold it. We made a friend. And now I I told him what the MBA was. He got it. So now we made a good connection.
I feel like, you know what? There was one deal I did for a monster Snorlax card. But it was mostly trade and I think some cash on top. But I got a bunch of PSA 9 evolutions for it. Like pretty low pop ones, I would say. And I don't know if the play there is to regrade them, where I was kind of looking at them and I was checking out last solds for what they go for. And I just remember seeing that some of those evolutions, I think in like a CGC 10 was sold for like a lot. But these are in PSA 9. But I feel like I looked at the backs.
Wait, which one is it? The Japanese one? What are you talking about?
No, they're English. I don't know if you saw this deal go down, but there was like it's like the reverse hollow Umbreon and Espeon from EX Sandstorm.
Oh, Sandstorm.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
got
they're
it,
very cool looking cards.
Sure.
But like you have to they're gonna go to a niche like evolution collector kind of.
Yeah.
And maybe the way you gotta do it is you gotta turn those into 10s first. But PSA I don't think was gonna give them 10s. They look really clean.
Yeah.
Maybe you could try to regrade them now. I can't remember from the cert number how old they are, but I don't think if I resent them to PSA, especially with how much like obviously stricter they've gotten, it's gonna get a 10.
6 or 7, honestly, at best. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I always think about we talked about it, right? Like the way I think is more just instinctive, right? Like there's no calculated like master plan behind all of this. It's just like does it make sense? And this is something that, I feel like I kind of enlighten you on, which is kind of rare,
yeah.
like for me to say that. I don't go for Hail Marys every single play. I don't wait. I don't sit around and be like, this card is gonna go to $2,000 and that's when I'm gonna unload. Look, if I came in on a card at 1,200 and I can make 1,500 on it, and I'm not in love with the card, or I had that card for a while and I'm like, okay, it's time to freshen things up and maybe get a different card I didn't get. I don't have to wait till the 2000, right? I will entertain offer. If something is good enough, I'm discovering new cards that comes in.
Right.
And that's the part I feel like a lot of collector and people who are not vendor don't understand that. I'm discovering new cards through transaction that are coming in. And I'm like, wow, I never seen this card before. What? This is a Pop 23 Deoxys Hollow Phantom that I never seen in my life. Is this a Pop 23 because no one care? Or is it a Pop 23 because it's hard to grade? Now you're learning all this stuff about the card. You see what I'm saying?
That's a lot of the stuff that I know just through like longevity in the game. Like I
Yeah.
remember like that's something you really have to learn. Like I remember the first slab I ever bought when I first got into slabs. It was a Charizard GX, the Hidden Fates 10 promo.
Mm-hmm.
In a PSA 10, I bought it for $150 when the Pokemon hype was like up. And I'm sure what happened was that card plummeted to like 70, 80. But we're talking like 150. So like, I had room to make mistakes. But the thing is, I think even right now, the card isn't even 150.
No.
This is years later. And it just goes to show you that like, there's definitely something to understanding population reports. There's something to understanding if, the pop on something is low because it's difficult to grade in that grade, or if it's truly rare. So the card is rare, so the pop is low, or the card is plentiful, but it's so plentiful, people think, I'm not even going to bother grading this because I don't think people will care about it. And then the few people that do grade those cards end up having a rare commodity in a 10 because no one graded it,
And
There's
becomes a thing,
all
right?
these little things you have to kind of know that just through learning stuff and like going down rabbit holes and doing your research, you kind of learn about all these different cards, and it's important. It's important.
And that's why, like, as a vendor, you got a rocket strapped to your back and you just have to fly, right? So you have to make those decisions, and if you make the wrong decision, it could be wrong. But you also cannot be scared to make decision, because being scared to make decision will also just make you irrelevant. It close opportunities off as well.
Yeah,
That's
you know
the
what?
thing.
That's one thing I think you do really good. You not being scared, and I think trusting your gut. I wish I would have trusted my gut more. I was actually probably, you know what's so funny? In beginning episodes of Card Lounge, people would always tell me that I was like thinking more like with emotion or off of instinct than Jake. Like I would be the one that would make riskier plays. But I actually think I go more off logic and numbers, and I look at buying cards when I see the price of them and I know what it takes to rip open those cards from packs, how many packs you need, how much those packs in those boxes are. Versus Jake, who I think, he's got more blue bottoms than me. If every time he bought a blue bottom, I bought a blue bottom, I'd be richer. But I didn't think to buy more because I just saved a couple from when I got blue bottoms at like $80 a box. So I'm in mine less, but Jake bought so many at like sub at that, like at 600, 800. I would never, then I think he got some at like 1,000, 1,200. But now they're all like almost
down,
Now they're all almost 5,000,
and
the amount that he got times 5,000 is more than the amount I have times 5,000.
Exactly.
And I think what he's in on them, it kind of it kind of just
averaged out.
it washes out
Yep.
because he's got more than me now. They sell for what they sell for, and even though he had to buy into it, it's just like he was just buying because he tells me he bought it because he saw I believed in it, and then he used because he's smart. It's like the first set. It's the first edition base set of One Piece.
Yeah.
Why would it not be the most expensive box 10 years from now when just look at the historical data of like Pokemon,
Yeah, exactly. And so let's dial that back a little bit, because when you said that, I actually understood a world where both of those logic coexist, which is I'm gonna attempt to explain it, because you say your listeners say you make riskier play, and Jake is the one that's more structural, right?
Well, in the beginning, I wish
yeah.
I was saying I'm more. I think Jake is willing to make more riskier plays than I am with his money.
Yeah.
I have to be very
Calculated.
I do this full time. So it's like if I make a bad
Sure.
play, that can affect, my family and stuff like
Of
that.
course,
So
of
it's like
course.
I need to make very structured plays if I'm going to make a play. You do, I feel like, have a structure, like a method to your madness. But the fact that you're
Yeah.
only a year in, dude, I wasn't messing with first edition Venusaur PSA 9s and like gold stars my first year in the hobby. So like
Yeah.
you have to be doing risky stuff to get there. But you're
But
you're
you
getting
see,
there, so
it
you're
wasn't
doing it.
risky at all. Like, I think I proved to you this weekend that it was not risky, in fact.
Because I
You
guess
know what I'm saying?
right, because each step you were really only like
I have always been
bouncing,
in the positive. I've always been in the positive.
Yeah.
So those riskier play, if it doesn't play out, I'm not getting wiped out. If that makes sense.
Right. No, yeah, I see what you mean. Like even if the gold star dropped, everything you're in on to get to the gold star is so far under the gold star that
Where it would have dropped below that threshold.
right.
Where, okay, guys, like, this is something I've talked about before. So I don't know if you know this. During the pandemic, I did 6 months of day trading. And I did short selling when it was the hottest bull market that the world have ever seen.
How did that go?
I didn't lose money.
Wow.
I'll tell you that much. So I was betting against the current, and I didn't lose money for like trying to do it full time for 6 months. So I understand something from day trading, which is human psychology. That's all it is. At the end of the day, Pokemon trading card game, this is literally the same thing as a stock market, right? If you want to draw that correlation, I think Jake talked about this too before, and you can see the human psychology of it, and you can make those calculated risks, and it will pay off. And like I said, the human psychology here, for example, that I have in mind, right? Why did I acquire the gold star? I came in at an actual differentiation. Like, okay, we can have a full debate about like what the actual calm I came in on versus what value, what true dollar amount I paid out of pocket to get those value to trade into the gold star. I think that's two separate conversations. People don't understand that, right? True calms, I probably gave that gold star like $8,800. But what I'm in on that 8,800 for making multiple successful trade before, way lower. Right. So you have to have to understand that duality of that conversation and separate it, right? So in value to value, market value wise, I probably didn't get the best deal, but because I made enough successful gains along the way, in all honesty, let's just say I it's not that I'm trying to hide the numbers. I just don't even know what number to tell people because there's so many transactions. I want to say loosely, I'm in on that card lower than 5K.
Yeah,
You
that's
see
good.
what I'm saying?
But see, okay, so to build off what you're saying, the thing is, think about the stuff in my showcase
Yeah.
that you got to see since
Yeah,
we
yep.
vended side by side. I feel like I wasn't moving as much stuff as you.
Yeah.
But using the logic you just said, I would have traded pretty much anything I had in my showcase for stuff that I feel like was valuable. If, especially if I'm trading in at a percentage, usually around like 80%, like sometimes more, like depending on the stuff. But the argument there would be everything in my showcase I personally collected or I
Yeah.
got when it was like way cheaper. So I'm in on it all really good.
Yep.
So if I trade any of it or sell any of it, I guess it's like a win,
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But I didn't I feel like I didn't move it or like nothing was really like churning or
Yeah.
going as fast as like some of the slabs you had in your showcase and moving, even though I had stuff like we pointed out
Mhm.
before that even other customers were saying they didn't even see anywhere else on
Yeah.
the showroom
Yeah,
floor.
exactly. So that's the part where like we talked about a little bit, right? Like I feel like your thought process and your mentality is like I need to go for Hail Mary because
I know.
because
Yeah.
because these are so personal to me that I value them high. So there's a huge difference, right? And that's the part where I think as a vendor, we have to understand the economical factor of this market. I'm not judging my cards that is not in my PC, anything that's out in the showcase. I'm not judging how much I valued it at. I'm judging how much the market value those cards at,
Well, no, but I've got
right?
everything at market value, and I'd be willing to do stuff a little bit less depending on the deal. But it wasn't like there was a lot of people coming to my table to be like, "Oh, can we work out something for this card or this card?" I mean,
And
there were a couple, just not enough to where I think I was churning, like making $1,000 after two or three
sure.
transactions, like what I'm sure you felt like you were doing,
Yeah.
like once you had
So
stuff moving.
when I say value, I don't mean dollar.
Mhm.
I mean desirability. You have stuff that a true Grail collector or true One Piece player collector would absolutely desire and you would
Mm.
absolutely kill for it. But 99% of the general public do not care or even understand or fathom the importance of those cards.
There are certain cards I have that fit. I know what
That's
you're
what it
talking
is.
about. Like the event finalist cards fit that description perfectly.
You
I
remember
think
that
those have been always
you remember
undervalued.
that one exact scenario where you had to explain to that guy what the difference between the champion
And
Uta and the regular Uta, and you had
well,
to
the
explain to me
finalists.
too.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
even
yeah.
had to explain it to me.
Yeah.
You see, that's exactly the point. A championship versus a pre-release winner versus a finalist card is all just a stamp to a regular consumer. Why am I paying that extra $700 for it? You have to justify that to an average consumer who are getting into One Piece because it's popping off right now.
So
That's
then,
the reality of
okay,
it.
right. So then, what does the average consumer want to collect?
Collect?
Do you
Yeah.
okay, then maybe that is true for me.
Yeah.
I don't personally collect like the average consumer, you think?
Absolutely not. You've been in One Piece since day one,
I
right?
guess that
And
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. You are a true OG collector of One Piece, and you know every single character. Look, just by the fact, like I've learned so much about you this weekend that
Yeah.
I can have an analysis of it, right? You wanted the now Black Label. Nobody in the world wants that card,
That is true. Oh
except
man.
for the guy who
I
sold it to you and you. That's it.
Yeah, I feel so conflicted about that deal. Like if it had happened, I would have been okay. But then also for that amount of value that he would have gotten, yeah, I don't. You're right. I'm
Yeah.
actually kind of glad that that deal
I
didn't
talked you
go
out of it.
through.
I was just like, it's really not that great. It's not that great.
Yeah.
And you see that's you have your inventory is fantastic. And I think look, I'm honest too. I ripped Japanese One Piece
Mhm.
since like maybe March. I didn't get into English One Piece like that until much more recently, because as a vendor, I have to keep up with the market, right? So to me, when I look at it, I'm like, this is a card that no one wants. And it's a black label, it's a brick. And when I look at the sales data, because I showed you the sales data, I walk you through my entire thought process. So guys, just for context, a customer came through. Here's another vendor wants to shop around this NL black label BGS 10 black label card that it was SP, and I didn't even know anything about the card. First time seeing the card, obviously, as a black label is desirable, but let's see. So my first thought process was, let's look, check all, check comms. Right. There was no com. He literally, before I even checked, he was like, "There's no com." Right?
Yeah, and I guess there really wasn't, except for something that was lower than what he was. He said he traded into it, and he felt like he traded too high into it, which he probably did.
Yeah,
you know, yeah.
So there was absolutely no com. I think it was like maybe the only black label or something like that, right? So immediately, again, this is from being strapped onto the rocket ship and learning a lot in the last 10 months. Sigma Seller taught me this lesson. The black label is roughly 5 to 6x of the PSA 10 or the BGS 10. So all I did was, okay, let's see if this card is truly worth that 3,000-4,000 they're looking for. I checked the BGS 10 price. Last sold was 300.
Oh,
and then,
right.
And
for
I
just
was like,
a regular gold label.
300 times 6, it was like less than 2K. I'm like, I just feel like, buddy, no. Like, your card is not worth $3,000-4,000, despite what you think.
Right. I mean, but the 6x multiplier isn't always. It's not like every
isn't.
black label.
It isn't.
Right. But I get as a rule of thumb, and specifically with this card, it's kind of like around there, right?
Well, and actually, if you
know,
think about it, I'm actually being generous already, because this is not a Nami SP. This is not a BOA. It's not a first tier
character. It's not a first tier character, and I think he did say he shopped it around to other people, and then people were saying pretty much the same thing that you were saying.
Yeah.
Well, it was weird. He said he shopped it around to merch, I think, at one point. And then I talked to merch, and then merch was like, I don't remember seeing that card. And I was like, okay, well then whatever. Maybe someone got confused. But you know, I valued it probably a little bit higher than what I needed to. Because of like collectability in my own soul. And then later, when I was able to like objectively think about it a little bit more, I was glad I didn't trade all that I was gonna trade.
And
he was already asking for a lot, and I tried to be like, I'll do these 4 cards, and then he ended up kind of being like, oh, actually, I don't want to do the trade anymore. And I was like, oh, are you sure? And then I thought I messed up, like, oh, I should have added in a 5th card. But I look back at the 5 cards, like those 5 cards in 5 years will go up more accumulatively than that black label will in 5 years, you know? So.
Yeah, honestly, frankly speaking, that black label is a brick. Nobody will want it. It's just plain and simple. And
well, I would have wanted it at some point in the past, but I already have one. It would just be like having another one, you know, would be fun.
And that's the thought process, right? It's like, do I want it bad enough to spend real money, no longer monopoly money, ladies and gentlemen, right? We're talking about stock money versus real money now, right? I spend this money and it will never see the daylight, and I keep it in my collection. I don't think so. It's an NL, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, I told him straight up, I was like, look, I'm being generous that this is multiplied by 6, and even multiplying by 6 is far below what you even imagine. I'm walking you through every step of the process, so you know I'm not like hustling you. That's just the reality of it, right? And at the end of the day, at a percentage, I think I came in logistically. Not saying that I won the card, but I'm like, look, when I mathed the math, it was like $1,200.
Oh, I thought it was like 16.
No, it was like 12. I would not have paid. No, I think the com was like 19, 20. And then I was like, because no one wants this, like why I would never pay strong on it.
Well, see, wait, why is the comp 1920? Because I just look at it. Actually, I just picked up another Black Label SP for 1,000, and I feel like I overpaid on that one. In that, like, it definitely shouldn't have been the most expensive, exquisite rare style SP that I've ever. I think it was the one from '09. But like the Eneru would not, or the Enel would not be one that I would think would even get
Exactly.
1,200. I think would be
Exactly.
super fair. And he was already trading for more stuff to get close to like 2K worth of value.
Exactly.
So I'm glad I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that 1920 comp was, again, very loosely based on 300 lassoed BGS 10 multiplying by 6 or whatever. So it's like,
Is
I
that
forgot
what
the
it
exact
was?
number.
There was
right?
no Black Label comp for that.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So I was just like, look, I'm not even gonna entertain like doing real math. I'm just showing you the basics,
Mhm.
and the basic adds up to this. But I'm telling you right now, this character is not really desirable. No one is gonna come to me and be like, I need that. That person may be a one person out there. I had to roll the dice and wait for that person to exist when I could be spending $1,600 to buy a Nami SP BGS 10 right now and with $200 cash back. And I could, at least I would like that card more.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? That's the thought process I thought through. I was like, then because of that logic, and you as a vendor would understand the exact logic.
Dude, I'm about to say something. No,
You
no.
know?
All right. You know what? You know what I want to do then? What would be funny? Because you talked about to me yesterday,
Yeah.
off the pod, like you tell me what slabs you'd be okay. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
even like blink if you could convert them into money or something else, something better. What would you be okay letting go of?
Yeah.
I think right now I could take maybe a couple things out of my like suitcase and say everything in there you could utilize. I get you probably wouldn't have the time or the room. Like I get you have stuff in your showcase. Well, I don't know. Maybe,
Actually,
maybe
that-
you do have some room.
My
If
inventory's
your
gone now.
inventory's
you saw
low,
it.
so dude, you know what? What if you didn't bring your inventory for a show?
Yeah, just
If
said
I
experiment.
gave
Let's do it.
gave you my inventory, so now my inventory is your inventory,
Yeah.
and for a show, what you would do with my inventory and what you could turn it into. And in fact,
That'd be
you know,
so
dude,
interesting.
You know what a fun game show would be? Why am I just now thinking of this? If we could get like 50 slabs, all PSA 10 or or BGS 10, just the same grade, like you have them and I have the
It's like the
same
adult
exact
trainer
cards,
challenge.
and we set up at like opposite ends of a show.
Yeah.
And who can turn the showcase into like
The best,
a bigger,
the most trainer challenge.
the
Oh,
more
that's
valuable thing.
awesome. Netflix, come after us.
But I know that would be the show, right? I would watch that.
Yeah.
I'd be curious though if I even gave you like 20, 30, 40 slabs, what you could
Turn it
could
into,
you yeah,
right?
could you turn this all into cash or into better cards? And like I feel like I trust you. Like I could give you some cards and see like
It would
what
be a
you could
very
do.
fun experiment.
It would
just
be
to see.
just to so we could both learn from it and
Yeah,
see
yeah, yeah.
what would come about.
At the very minimum, it would be like a cool social experiment, a
Yeah.
social media video.
We'd have to film. Yeah, for sure.
Film the whole process. I think it would
Yeah.
be viral.
I mean, even if I was vending the same show as you, I could literally just
Yeah.
give you
Just
like
give me and
10
see
of
what
them.
happens.
Right, and just see what you did with them.
Yeah.
And like why, like if I kept those same slabs in my showcase and they would just sit there like and nothing would happen.
Yeah.
But somehow magically if I give them to you, you'll turn them into a first edition Venusaur.
Well, like we talked about it today too, right? Like you were like, oh, how come some of my stuff like no one picked out? I'm like, you realize you have a Zoro manga sitting on the bottom right corner of your entire showcase that doesn't even have a graded gacha on it, right?
I know people can see that though. I feel like a manga sticks out enough, but I do get what you mean by like if you put a cool like graded guard on.
Shout out to graded cards, man! You guys, fantastic, great job, guys.
Yeah, it is awesome, and
yeah.
it's like I do feel like maybe there's a couple cool cards that if I decked out, every show there's
Has to
always
be a
a
presentation,
there's
man.
always a line though to go get the
I know.
limited drop. So
I know.
I'm just gonna have to stock up.
You have to, man. But that was a great episode so far. I can't believe we already talked for like an hour and a half already.
And we talked for an hour and a half before the pod too. So
I
just
know.
about everything.
We just love this hobby so much. So what we're gonna do, guys, we're gonna cut this episode into 2 pieces. So part 2 is gonna come in the following week. So make sure you stay tuned for this continued conversation because it gets even juicier. So
yes. Stay tuned, guys.
All right, guys. We'll see you in that next episode. All right.
Peace. Peace.
All right, guys. This is Alan with Pokemon Hero, and I am the host of the TCG Table Podcast. So this is the moment you all been waiting for. We have the Stained Glass Birds giveaway. All right. This is going to be the PSA 10 Stained Glass Birds, and we're going to be giving it away to one of you guys, lucky winner. This is how you're going to do it, okay? We are on the push to get our first 1,000 subscriber on the YouTube channel. So all you really have to do is subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell notification, and then also like one of our videos, okay? So if you do all that, we are going to enter you into the drawing automatically. And we are going to be doing the drawing when we hit our first 1,000 subscriber. So stay tuned for that. And we want to give a big shout out to 9 Coins Collectible for sponsoring this giveaway. So good luck to you all, and we will see you guys soon, okay? Peace!